Alright, so here we're dealing with the most primitive and most barbaric of the boys.
After the
So, Savage Orks. You want to learn about the Savage Orks, my boyos? Well, it doesn't matter because you're going to learn anyways. So, Savage Orks. What are they? Are they like a different species of orc? Technically they are, in their own way. So, in Warhammer Fantasy, what makes a Savage Orc is essentially an orc that's dumber than the average orc. Now that's pretty hard to beat, you know. How are you dumber than a dumbass? Well, there's a way of doing it. So when the orcs migrated past the dwarves and now entered the deserts known as the Badlands, turns out that if you're exposed to the sun and you're already kind of fragile because you're a fucking plant, well, it turns out that by boiling your brain, which is already incredibly small, it can actually make it smaller. So the Savage Orcs, being exposed to too much radiation, have become dumb as shit. Now, don't mistake this stupidity for lack of organization and such. That's not the case. They actually unite and form tribes, much like any other orcs. It's just that they justify to themselves why they don't use iron weapons. And to them, they just consider it the old way. Technically, they're not lying there, because before the orcs invaded the dwarves, they were just using stone, wood, and bone. That's all they were using for weapons. Anything that was bones, anything that was wood, and anything that was made of stone. That's it. That's all they're going to clobber you with. But then when they invaded the dwarves and they got invaded by chaos dwarves too, they learned how to make iron. They learned how to do this. And then they also stole iron weapons from both factions. And now they're fighting humanity who uses steel weapons, iron weapons, and all sorts of nice stuff that they could take as well. Well, in modern Warhammer Fantasy, Savage Orcs don't have a reason not to be using iron. Now, does not using iron mean that they're weak? No. They're actually more ferocious than regular orcs. And the reason being is that to these Savage Orcs, they get a nice big toothy grin on them when they see something massive that they can beat to death with their weapon. And to them, they consider it more satisfying to kill a giant serpent with a bone club rather than with an iron chopper. They do have some good merit to that argument, actually. Think about it. What is more prideful? What is more exciting? To kill a snake with a gun or to kill a snake with a machete? Obviously, a machete is going to be better. But now you're going to take it one step further. What's more exciting? Killing it with a machete or killing it with a fucking dulled out bone femur that you could just whack it over repeatedly till it stops fucking moving? That sounds fun. That sounds tough. That sounds like a challenge meant for the boys. So that's what the Savage Orcs believe in. Now you may think that they may be absolutely useless because they don't use armor. So how do they survive? Especially in military engagements where you'll have a front line of dwarf or human gunners just pointing their flintlocks at the orcs. How the fuck do they survive? Well, here's where it gets a little weird. So you remember when I said if enough orcs believe in something, it becomes real? Well, the Savage Orcs kind of take that and multiply that by 1,000. So, GW said one thing before, and now they're saying another thing now. You can look at their website right now, like I was earlier, for their codex about the Savage Orcs. And in older versions, it was said that the war paint that's on them is given by their shamans. So their orc shamans paint this blue paint on their bodies. Of course, the paint isn't the same, it's just whatever the shaman feels like drawing that day. And now GW says that a Savage Orc just paints and tattoos himself. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter I can tell you guys now, as your little teacher, it doesn't matter who the fuck gives the tattoos to the orcs. Because here's why. The orcs believe it works at protecting them. So it's going to protect them. It doesn't matter who the fuck does it. So just know there's a little bit of lore conflict as to who does the paintings. But just know it doesn't matter in the end. I know it sounds kind of nihilistic, but it doesn't matter in the end because blue means luck to the orcs. So if you cover yourself in blue, they believe you're lucky. Well, turns out their blue paint and their blue tattoos do actually protect them at times. And I ain't making this shit up. It actually does protect them. Not all the time. In fact, most of the time it won't work. But this doesn't stop the orcs from still believing in the paint. They just believe that something was wrong with that person's paint. They don't really take the fault for why the paint doesn't work. They just say he was unlucky. That's pretty much all they gotta say about that. So how does the paint work though? So you got your line of muskets. You're ready to fire your guns at the naked barbarian that's charging at you with a staff made of just straight up wood, and he's about to clobber you to death with it. Well, you fire the gun, and you see it. You see the bullet bounce off of his pec, off of his boobs, like the Hulk in Avengers, where bullets literally just hit him, don't do any damage, and they just fall to the floor. That's what's gonna happen. Now, what if you stab him and the paint works? What happens then? Well, simple. You slice him, all of a sudden, you didn't leave a cut. Even though the blade slid across his fucking belly, there was no cut. Because he's lucky, the paint absorbed the blow. Well, you stab him. Well, all of a sudden your sword might break. I'm not joking, these are actual things that could happen to you. This is why fighting Savage Orcs is very unpredictable, because you don't know if the paint is gonna work or not. But not only that, you don't know what the fuck they're gonna do as a weapon. Because a Savage Orc finds it more enjoyable to beat you to death with a rock than with an iron weapon. So you don't know what he's gonna be using as a weapon, which is a dangerous, dangerous situation to be in when you got a guy who's, 7 feet tall, big, bronze fucking muscle, and doesn't feel pain. Yeah, that's kind of a scary situation to be in. Because since it's not iron, he's not going to kill you instantly. Instead, it's going to be just straight up concussion battle where he's just going to concuss the fuck out of you till you die. Now, when it comes to their tribes, their magic is actually really powerful. The only problem is that it's more unpredictable than regular orc magic. So regular orc magic is unpredictable at best of times. Like, an orc mage may summon a spell that's an explosion called an Edbutt, but instead of that Edbutt being in the middle of the enemy lines, it pops over in Asia and just blows up randomly inside some guy's toilet. Now, that's very unlucky for that guy, but it still didn't do the job. In fact, some orcs get turned into squigs because their magic failed. Well, how does shamans who belong to this tribe of fucking idiots do their magic? Well, they do little ritual dances. Now, if we all know Wurzag, the great green Jesus, we know that he does his own little magic by dancing around, and if you happen to be around him, you may get turned into a squig. Well, turns out that's pretty much how Savage Orc shamans work. They're more dangerous because their magic is more potent from their rituals, but it's harder for them to get those spells off, whereas other mages would have an easier time. So a normal orc shaman would be able to cast a spell that's extremely deadly at anybody he so chooses. A savage orc shaman could cast the same spell, but stronger. So instead of being a vindictive glare that just shoots out a bunch of bolts at a dragon and actually pierces his chest and leaves some nasty flesh burns, well, Instead, this may actually reduce the dragon to ash. This may actually just reduce him to cinders. The only problem is, it's a lot harder to pull that off. The Orc Shaman, the Savage Orc Shaman, may do the ritual right, but just because he's unlucky, it may not work. He may do the ritual wrong and it actually works and goes off. This is the problem with the Savage Orcs. It's totally unpredictable. On one hand, he could reduce the dragon to cinders. On the other hand, he could reduce the whole orc wog aflame and just destroy the whole wog. This is why Savage Orcs are kept kind of at a distance when it comes to encampments and wogs. Now, there is a plus side to having orc savages in your army, which is that they do hurt a hell of a lot more than regular orc boys, because these guys kind of charge in with reckless abandon. Whereas most orcs, they do charge in recklessly, but they don't go in like an idiot, just charging, kicking, and screaming. They know to avoid the pointy things while they charge. Yeah, they'll get hit by the pointy things, but at least they try to avoid it. Savage Orcs will actually jump with their chest lined up against your pike and just charge at you with a fucking club. So, exactly how they fucking work is kind of weird when it comes to military tactics. But besides that, though, they're a fully functioning orc tribes of savages. The only problem is that, again, they have no armor, and unlike forest goblins, so forest goblins are basically savage goblins, but there's a difference between them. They're savages because they don't have the capability to go become normal goblins. Savage orcs have the full capability to wear full iron armor like regular orcs and learn their ways. They just choose not to because they're so stupid that they think that it's a better idea to stay in their old ways. That's the difference. So if you have forest goblins in your army, they will steal your weapons that are made of iron. They will do it. Savage orcs, if you actually give them iron weapons and armor and say, here, take this, he'll throw it at you and be like, get that weak shit out of here. And that's what he's going to do. Now, are they ever capable of forming a wog on their own? Not really. Because, again, they have a hard enough time surviving, trying to, chase down pigs and beat them to death with clubs. And they have a harder time dealing with armies because they don't have the piercing capabilities to go through dwarven armor because they don't have iron. But they do have the savageness to really beat the shit out of somebody. So most of the time they join wogs and help contribute to it and grow their own tribe. But once the wog is over, their tribe kind of goes down from natural selection pretty much. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, Savage Orcs. We're going to get into the other subspecies of orcs later on. The next one we're going to do is Biggins. And besides that, I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below what you guys think about this YouTube channel. Because I actually want to do more hentai reviews, but none of you guys want to comment anything about the hentais. Because I understand you don't want to be publicly known as the guy who actually watched the video about hentai. But at the same time, you do know that, like, our community here is very okay with each other. Like, none of us attack one another. We're not like some meme page that's like 1 million subscribers who only talk shit about each other. So besides that, see you guys next time.